I'm Andrea Neerhoff.
And I'm Louisa Wright. Coming up on the program, Opposition Leader Tony Abbott's Chief of Staff is booked for drink driving, Tom Waterhouse's deal with the NRL falls through, and Denmark celebrates its 2013 Eurovision win.
First, the Australian Crime Commission has released figures showing the number of arrests for drugs in Australia over 2011-2012 was the highest on record. The illicit drug data report also reveals the majority of clandestine drug laboratories were found in Victoria. The Crime Commission says the flow of performance and image-enhancing drugs into the country has increased, with dealers becoming smarter and changing supply routes. Victoria also has the highest rate of heroin-related crimes, making up 8.6% of arrests. Nationally, cannabis remains responsible for around 2/3 of all drug arrests.
Still on crime, a spike in deaths at Victorian prisons has angered human rights advocates. The Commissioner of Corrections Victoria, Jan Schwad, confirms there's been an unprecedented number of deaths in custody, with 12 prisoner deaths reported since January. Schwad says most deaths appear to be from natural causes, but critics say otherwise, speculating the leading cause is suicide. 2 inmates are currently in hospital and remain in critical condition following suicide attempts. Human rights advocates say the rise in deaths is a result of the sweeping privatisation of Victorian prisons and what they say is a lack of accountability. Victoria has one of the world's highest rates of inmates in private prisons.
To lighter news, Denmark has lived up to expectations, taking out the 57th Eurovision contest in Malmö. Here's more on the highlights with Tennille Secom.
Well, Andrea, the barefooted 20-year-old Emily de Forest won the competition with her song Only Teardrops. The folk song stood out amongst the swathe of pop songs, power ballads and elaborate costumes. Take a look.
Tell me, how many times can we win and lose? How many times can we break the rules between us? Only teardrops.
Great stuff. And on a more serious note, Opposition Leader Tony Abbott's Chief of Staff, Peter Credlin, has been booked for drink driving.
Yes, Miss Credlin blew over the legal limit last Thursday night. According to a spokesman for Mr Abbott, Miss Credlin recorded a low-range reading between 0.05 and 0.08 and is set to appear in the Magistrates Court in Canberra. Abbott has defended Credlin as an exceptional Chief of Staff.
She's made a mistake, she's done the wrong thing, she accepts that and it will now be handled in the usual way.
This comes just weeks after demoting his Director of Policy, Mark Roberts, over a funding scandal, while continuing to support Liberal Tasmanian Senator Stephen Parry, who blew 0.1 in a random breath test last year.
Thanks to Neil. Bookstores have taken a hard hit over the past few years, with cheaper online bookshops proving to be popular with consumers. With the drop in the number of bookstores in Australia, you'd think we were losing interest in reading, but as I found out, that's not the case. The number of book clubs in Melbourne is on the rise, with some public library book groups having year-long waiting lists. The Centre for Adult Education alone has 800 book groups, with 80% being in Victoria. North Melbourne Library librarian Heather Mackay says there's more to book clubs than literary discussion.
As well as to get out of their reading comfort zone, it is a social outlet for a lot of them. In some cases, it's quite possible that people who come to a new area or whatever will join a book group or some other group, but especially a book group, for some social inclusion.
Federation Square Book Club organiser Sarah Linklater has found most book club members are women. One male attendee felt he had to check it was okay for him to join after being rejected by a previous book club.
So he pulled me aside and said, "Oh, do you mind that I'm here? Like, I'm happy if you guys just want to be by yourself, if you just want to be girls." Because they didn't want me. I just, I didn't want to overstep my mark. And I was like, no, it's fantastic. I want you here, please come.
I would say that
Heather Mackay has found the best discussions come from books that divide the book club.
The best books for a book group are one that half of them like and half of them don't, because it adds more debate. The next one is books that everyone really hates, they talk about a lot. The ones that are never any good are the ones that everybody loves, because they just say, I loved it, and they leave it at that.
With the emergence of ebooks, the book club landscape looks set for a change. But whether book club members will welcome new technology remains unclear.
It's a bit of a mixed bag. I have a Kindle and I really, a Kindle for me will never replace a proper book. I think there's a tactile experience that goes along with, and books you love you want to have an actual copy of. And some people are very strong about the fact they will never go to ebooks, but, I don't want to take 10 books on holiday with me.
Tamara Balderston is one book club member who won't be making the switch to ebooks.
I spend a lot of time on the computer, on an iPhone for work, and I want something different.
Louisa Wright, Newsline.
Thanks, Louisa. To business now with James Fettes. And James, it seems Tom Waterhouse's deal with the NRL has fallen through.
That's right, Andrea. The NRL appears to have walked away from negotiations with the highly controversial bookie, who had made a $50 million bid for the official sponsorship position. In an interview on ABC's Four Corners, NRL manager Shane Matisky insists the decision was not affected by public backlash that followed Waterhouse joining Channel 9's sports panel in March.
And I hear Silicon Valley's made another young billionaire.
Correct. 26-year-old David Karp, who founded the popular blogging site Tumblr, is apparently the tech world's newest billionaire. This comes after web giant Yahoo reportedly closed a deal to buy the site for $1.1 billion.
That'd sure help pay the bills. And what's happening with this so-called fat tax?
Well, a government-backed study is working to find out if increasing junk food prices will help tackle Australia's obesity epidemic. 63% of Australian adults are overweight, but critics say taxes won't help and will punish the poor.
Thanks, James. And Newsline took to the streets to find out what the public thinks about taxing junk food.
If you're making everything very expensive, how are you going to expect people that don't have money to actually go and eat what they're going to eat?
I don't like it. I think it's a silly idea.
I suppose it's a good and a bad thing for me. I try not to eat fast food, but I work at a pizza shop, so it could sort of work both ways.
I don't know if it will help, but I think it should be done, definitely.
I think it's a good idea.
I think that people who eat a lot of fast food will eat the fast food anyway.
It's fast and it's easy, so I don't think money's really got anything to do with it.
Do you have any other solutions to curbing obesity?
Promoting healthy lifestyle and healthy living. I don't think putting a tax on fast food will do anything to dampen it.
Whether that will help, I don't know, but it will certainly encourage people, and maybe people would think twice once they've got the right information about, what's good for their bodies and what isn't.
I really promote that the higher tax, particularly on fast food, which is not healthy, is very beneficial, and I promote this.
Is it really going to stop anyone from eating a hamburger?
Welcome back. Now it's time for our movie review with Christy Lee Clifford. She's got the wrap on Iron Man 3.
Thanks, Andrea. The latest Iron Man hit the cinemas on April 24. Unlike the first two films, directed by Jon Favreau, Iron Man's 3 director is none other than Shane Black. In the series, we followed Tony Stark on his journey, from developing his suit, exacting revenge, and of course saving the planet. And while the plots haven't always been the strongest, there's something about Robert Downey Jr.'s portrayal of Tony Stark you just can't get past.
Nothing's been the same since New York.
Shane Black did a great job following on from the Avengers. The film is very conscious of the events in New York instead of glossing over them. There's good character development, with Tony trying to deal with his post-traumatic stress, and it's refreshing to see Gwyneth Paltrow's Pepper Potts get a go at some action, going from damsel in distress to hero. I'm giving it 3 3/4 stars out of 5.
Thanks, Christy Lee. With many different sporting codes to choose from, football-mad Australians have always been spoilt for choices. But a newer code has now evolved, with indoor soccer known as futsal fast gaining popularity in Australia. Shah Majid reports.
Futsal originated in South America in the 1930s, but matches such as these are now a common sight in places such as South Altona.
If either side, indoor, players get more touches on the ball, there's more goals generally within the game, it's interchange substitutions.
Australia's participation in the 2006 and 2010 FIFA World Cups, along with the surging interest of soccer in the European leagues, have enabled futsal to evolve into a sporting code down under.
I think that soccer as a whole has grown, and I think on the back of that, futsal, I guess you could liken it to almost 2020 of cricket.
In a state where sporting codes such as the AFL and rugby reign supreme, Futsal is making impressive waves around Victoria.
And under our umbrella we have about 5,000 registered players.
The futsal bug has even bitten active Melbourne City Sports, the city's chief sporting organisation.
One of the sports we decided to offer was a futsal competition, and over the last 3 years it has just exponentially grown.
The convenience factor is a huge draw in attracting many people to start playing futsal.
Obviously it's an indoor venue, so no matter what the weather is outside, obviously the games can still be taken, still go ahead.
The fast and furious nature of futsal allows men and women to battle it out on the court.
Because you get to play in a team, so you get that team kind of atmosphere, and it's quite fun and it's competitive.
Mixed teams comprising men and women are a common theme in many futsal matches.
It's great to sort of get girls involved into the game with your less numbers and sometimes more of a social feel to some of the competitions.
With health studies revealing that more and more Australians are becoming increasingly obese, futsal is a great way to kick off and reduce the flab.
The fact that people are keen to get back out there and be active is probably the biggest benefit.
Football Federation Victoria now has a new target audience in its sights as it attempts to widen the futsal revolution. Shah Majid, Newsline.
Thanks, Sham. And Sham joins us for Sport Now.
Thanks, Andrea. And before I kick off, I should point out that the Australian futsal team, known as the Futsal Roos, have participated in 6 FIFA Futsal World Championships. In AFL news, Collingwood ruckman Darren Jolly has just been cleared by the AFL match review panel. The panel assessed his clash involving Geelong's Matthew Stokes at the MCG on Saturday night. Here's what happened.
Extra hand in second guess. Podsiadly misses another hand. So this press that, of course, designed and so effective.
As you see, Jolly appeared to have delivered a perfect bump on Stokes, but the 25cm height difference meant he caught his counterpart on the head instead. In soccer news, after 27 years in the hot seat, Manchester United manager Sir Alex Ferguson coached his 1,500th and final match against West Bromwich Albion yesterday. And in tennis news, Rafael Nadal took just 68 minutes to win the Italian Open after strolling to a 6-1, 6-3 win against arch-rival Roger Federer on Sunday. He is now a strong favourite to retain the French Open, which begins next Sunday.
Thanks for that, Sham. And now for the weather. Tomorrow will be partly cloudy with isolated showers clearing by the afternoon. The city will see a top of 16 degrees and 17 degrees in Geelong.
And that's all we have time for. Join us again at the same time tomorrow. Good night.